Welcome back, everybody. This is the Fit Executive Show. I'm your host, Arne, and today I'm going to contradict myself when it comes to things I've said previously on motivation and discipline, okay? Because for a long time, what I did is I repeated what I heard other people say in YouTube videos, motivational videos. Like I follow speakers like Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet. I just found I can highly recommend this. I just found the original recordings of Napoleon Hill, the guy that wrote Think and Grow Rich. It's amazing what this guy had to say, and he must be the grandfather of all of the motivational speakers. But I would say today I have a deeper understanding than I did a year ago or 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, right? And I think it's important to acknowledge, because all of us, if we are on the path of continued growth and improvement, we might change our minds on certain things after enough analysis, and a deeper understanding brings us to a different conclusion. And so I'm super excited to bring you this episode today, because on previous episodes of this podcast, I've talked a lot about motivation and how motivation is overrated, right? And how anybody who thinks motivation alone is the key to winning in life is missing the point, right? The thing that people talk about all the time is it's not about motivation, it's really about discipline, right? Discipline is the thing that's going to win the championship. It's a thing that's going to get you the dream body. And discipline is the thing that's going to get you to achieve that financial goal you've been chasing. Now, I've done a lot of deep work, and you've listened to these episodes where I dive into NLP and mindset and how we can manipulate our own mind and put it on autopilot. And what I've realized is that it's really easy for a guru, a podcast host, or a speaker to get in front of the mic and just spit hard work, discipline, grind, and the answer to all of your failures, right? It's just be more disciplined. I'm going to give you a different spin on motivation today, okay? Because right here, right now, as I sit with everything I've watched evolve in my own life and also in the life of our clients, I understand how things work differently, okay? And that is, motivation is the game. It's the key. It's not bullshit. Motivation is not bullshit, okay? Eliciting motivation from within is what is going to make you succeed, okay? Or it will make you fail if you don't do it. Because I know some of you are thinking, Arnie, I've watched all these videos that say motivation is bullshit. It's all about discipline, right? It's about doing the work. It's about the daily grind. Let me rewind it, okay? Let me rewind it for you. This is where the world of NLP and mindset coaching has taken things to a different level for me, because I've watched this understanding transform my own life and produce amazing results in a short amount of time. Let me give you a couple of examples, maybe, okay? If I wanted to be disciplined and I had a goal to run a marathon, and I was just going to test my discipline and my will to do something I didn't want to do, it would be torture. I have zero desire to run another marathon. I've done this once and I don't need to do that again. All I wanted to do there when I did it is I wanted to be able to tell my grandkids that grandpa ran a marathon one day, and I'm not gonna disclose my time. It's a little bit embarrassing. You can, if you really want to know it, send me a text on Instagram or shoot me an email, arnie@fitexecutive.co. But otherwise, I'm not gonna disclose this on this podcast. My marathon time is not the best. Okay, let's put it this way. But I've done this once, and I don't need to do that again. In fact, at the root of everything that I do in fitness, like I want to look strong and powerful in my 40s and beyond, obviously, but right now I am in my 40s. I want to feel athletic and energized, and I want to build a body that reflects the standards that I hold in every other area of my life. And it goes against my whole approach to go and run a long distance now. Okay, I have zero desire to do so. I don't want to look like a marathon athlete. I have lots of respect for these guys, but I don't want to end up living a marathon athlete's life, right? And I don't want to have the skinny body of a marathon athlete. Like, I also have zero desire to put in several hours each week that I could spend growing my business or I could spend with my family. And then as a reward of all of this, like all of the sacrifice, I would end up looking skinny and weak, right? Therefore, I have zero motivation to go and train like a marathon athlete. Now, I could go to battle with my willpower. I could test my discipline this way. That would be a perfect test. I could see how hard I could push myself training for this marathon. But I'd be setting myself up for failure, okay? Because here's the truth. Motivation to do and achieve something that actually means something to you makes the discipline easy. If it doesn't mean anything to you, the discipline will feel like torture, okay? Whether or not you do what you need to do, whether you exhibit the behavior required and the habits required, or eliminate the behavior that's holding you back, that's another part, okay? It all comes down to whether or not you're in a motivated state. That's it. You're either motivated to do what you need to do to reach your goal, or you're not, right? Every single one of you can think back to maybe it was yesterday or the day before or last week when you grabbed the cookies or you poured in the wine, right? You ordered the dessert and you not knowingly put your results on hold. I certainly remember me doing stuff like that. It's called self-sabotage because you have a goal and your behavior doesn't reflect that goal, then that's the definition of self-sabotage. Now, you took yourself further from achieving what you really want, right? And all of you can think back to a time like that. And you can also remember times where you made incredible progress in your fitness, in your finances, when you were so motivated that it didn't matter what was in front of you. You were so motivated to get things done that you said no to the cookies. You said no to the wine. You said no to the late night snack. So the game for me and for our clients is, how do we elicit this motivated state? How do we elicit it 95% of the time? You don't need to be perfect, but 95% of the time, okay? Because we have goals financially, in our business, in our body. How do we put that motivated state on autopilot and let it carry us to the end result inevitably, right? And here's what I mean from my own experience. When I was working in the German craft beer industry, I was successful by every external measure. I was a head of sales and marketing, traveling Europe, entertaining clients, building a career I was proud of. But I had traded my health for that success without even realizing it. And then one day I saw a photo of myself sitting on a horse, and I looked at it and I felt generally ashamed because I still had the identity of an athlete. I had played basketball in my whole youth, but the guy in that photo didn't look like an athlete. He looked like someone who had given up. And that photo did something to me that no amount of discipline ever could have. It ignited something in me, right? A desire so strong that it made everything else easy. I didn't need someone to drag me to the gym. I didn't need a rigid meal plan to follow out of obligation. I was motivated. And when you're truly motivated, when the desire is real and it's yours, the discipline takes care of itself. And when people say motivation is bullshit, they don't understand this. They think about the best teams you've ever been part of in business, in sports, in life. the ones that outworked everybody else, okay? You might look at them from the outside and call them disciplined, but what was really driving them? They believed in what they were working toward. They were motivated for the end result. And that motivation led them to do whatever discipline was required. Not because they were wired differently, but because their desire was greater. And I want to hit on this because if you've been listening to this show, okay, you know that I circle back on something until it lands. I sometimes you need a couple of times, right? Because it might be this time, this specific way of me saying it to you that finally clicks for you. Okay, you keep falling in love with this idea that you're going to become some supremely disciplined being. You keep reading books by David Goggins, and by the way, it's a phenomenal book. You can hurt me. Shout out to you, David. Uh, but then you think that person like the Goggins guy is just more disciplined than you, and maybe in this specific case there's some truth to that, right? That guy did things I would never do, but there's the question worth asking is, why was David Goggins David Goggins? Why did he want to prove what he wanted to prove? He had that desire somewhere. On some level, he had a burning desire to endure pain and see what he was made of. And that desire made him do extraordinary things. But then the message gets bottled up into, you're just not disciplined enough, okay? And that's where it goes wrong, because most of you don't want what David Goggins wanted, right? And you shouldn't have to. I mean, I lost 50 pounds, not because I white knuckled my way through it with pure discipline, because I found what I actually wanted and what I didn't want. Okay, that was my key element. I didn't want to feel like shit anymore. I wanted what a fit body would give me, confidence in myself, no matter what room I enter. Peace of mind that I would not end up like my mom, for example, who didn't take care of her body when she had the chance, and who now suffers the consequences when she's in her 70s, right? I wanted status. I wanted a hot wife. I'm completely honest. And a hot wife usually wouldn't accept a man who doesn't take care of themselves. So I knew, okay, in order to get that hot wife, who do I need to become? I need to be fit myself, right? And the motivation that came from that made the hard work feel almost automatic. And what I want in terms of my body, my health, my energy, I'm very clear about this. I want to feel like an athlete even in my 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. I want to look in the mirror and I want to see someone who reflects the standards that I hold in my business, for example, right? I want to show up for Grace and for Harley with energy and presence. I want to be the guy in the room who clearly takes care of himself, but not necessarily out of vanity, but out of self-respect. And that desire is real. I can feel it when I talk about it. And because of that, the discipline required, hitting my nutrition targets, getting my workouts in, prioritizing my sleep, getting my steps in, it's easy. It's not always comfortable, but easy because I'm motivated, right? Now, let's talk about what I see with almost every executive who comes into our world. They come in and they have a good life, a good partner, good kids, good income, nice house, nice car. They go on nice vacations. They might have a little more stress than the average guy, okay? But they look around and by most measures, life is good. And then they look at their body and yeah, they know something is off. They can feel it, even if they can't fully articulate it yet, right? And what I bring to their attention is like what I identify as their greatest enemy is this: good enough. Their life is good enough. Their body is good enough. And right in that good enough spot, motivation dies. Okay? Why is that? Because they spent years being motivated to escape something, to not be broke, to not be out of shape, to not feel like they were behind. Okay, so they did what they needed to do. They were as disciplined as they needed to be to get to a place where body's okay, business is running, family is good, bills are paid, doctor says you're fine for your age, and then they stall. And the greatest enemy in that moment is the comfort of good enough. Because right in that spot, that good enough spot, there has to be a shift in motivation. If you want to know the real secret, it's this. You have to move from being motivated away from pain, away from being broke, away from being out of shape, to being motivated toward greatness. Okay, Tom Brady didn't just want to not be a backup quarterback. He craved greatness. Michael Jordan, the same. He craved legendary. He craved the next level so deeply that the discipline became almost automatic. And that's the whole point. The executives I work with who transform fastest aren't the ones who grit their teeth the hardest. They are the ones who get crystal clear on what they actually want and why they want it, right? To get the emotional brain involved. And then they let that desire pull them forward. Good enough is not where you want to live. You want to chase great. You want to chase the next level. And when you're truly pulled toward that next level, the things other people call discipline just become who you are. It becomes how you operate. Okay, it becomes your standard. And that doesn't mean every morning feels amazing. That doesn't mean that every workout is something you're jumping out of bed for. Okay, it just means you're so compelled by the result that you do it anyways, right? It becomes automatic. So the next time you hit like on a post that says motivation is bullshit, I want you to pause, okay? Consider your own philosophy on this, the way I had to reconsider mine. Because where I used to repeat that motivation, it doesn't matter. I now understand motivation is everything, okay? I understand motivation is everything. When you're in a motivated state, you do whatever it takes. And when you're not, when you're frustrated, when you're stuck, when you're running on willpower fumes, then you don't do what it takes. Okay? So instead of pointing to discipline as the answer, I'm asking you to rewind. Go back to the motivation. Go back to what you actually want and why you actually want it. That's the bigger part. Okay? Get crystal clear on your goals and crystal clear on your why behind those goals. And when you're truly aligned in that want, right? When that desire is real and it's yours, everything else follows. And that's a game, right? That is the game. And now you know how to play it. I see you on the next show.